Dr. Hana pushed her tired eyes away from the glowing screen and rubbed her temples. She had been studying the ancient files for 12 hours straight, but she could not stop reading. The stories were too strange, too detailed, and too consistent to be simple fairy tales. Still working on those human myths? Dr. Wu Jin asked as he entered the research lab aboard the starship Eternal Quest. His voice carried the tired tone of someone who had heard this topic too many times. They are not myths, Hana replied firmly. She turned the screen so Wu Jin could see the text she had been translating. Look at this passage from the Vorthak archives. It describes a battle where these humans fought for 3 days without sleep, carrying wounded allies on their backs while still firing their weapons. Wu Jin sat down next to her and looked at the ancient writing. He had worked with Hana for 5 years, and he knew that look in her eyes. She had found something important, even if she could not prove it yet. The translation could be wrong, he said gently. These records are over 4,000 years old. Maybe the word we think means human actually means something else. Hana shook her head and pulled up another file. I thought so too until I found this. The screen showed a star chart with symbols marked in red. This is from the Quillen database. It shows the location of something they called the Terra system in the Outer Rim, the same system mentioned in every single human story. The Outer Rim was the dangerous edge of known space. No council ship had ever traveled there because the region was full of radiation storms, rogue planets, and unstable stars. It was considered worthless and too risky to explore. Even if there was a planet called Terra, Wu Jin said, that does not mean the stories about humans are true. Listen to what you are saying, Hana. A species that could survive in any environment, beings who never gave up even when they were dying, creatures who could run faster than most vehicles and fight with weapons twice their size. It sounds impossible. Hana stood up and walked to the large window that looked out into space. The stars seemed cold and distant, but somewhere among them might be the answer she was looking for. What if impossible things are only impossible until they happen? She asked. Down in the ship's command center, Captain Jinwoo was having his own discussion about the human files. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Nari, had been reviewing the military records that Hana and Wu Jin had discovered. Captain, have you read these combat reports? Nari asked, holding up a datapad. According to these files, humans once fought, a war that lasted over 600 years. They never surrendered even when their enemies destroyed entire planets. Ancient war stories always get exaggerated, Captain Jinwoo replied, but his voice sounded uncertain. Every species has legends about great warriors from the past. This is different, sir. Nari pulled up a tactical display. These are not random stories. They describe specific battle formations, weapon designs, and military strategies that actually work. I ran computer simulations based on these human tactics, and they are incredibly effective. The captain frowned. In his 20 years of service, he had never seen Lieutenant Nari get excited about historical records. She was usually focused on practical matters like ship repairs and crew schedules. What kind of tactics, he asked. Small unit operations with heavy support, combined arms warfare, and something they called adaptive response doctrine. The humans apparently changed their fighting style during each battle based on what the enemy did. Most species stick to one military approach, but humans seem to use dozens of different methods. Captain Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. He had fought in several border conflicts, and he knew how hard it was to coordinate different types of military units. The idea of a species that could change tactics in the middle of a battle seemed almost impossible. There is something else, Captain, Nari continued. These human military records mention an enemy called the Devourers. The descriptions match. Some very old council files about a species that destroyed entire star systems thousands of years ago. The Devourers were destroyed long ago, Captain Jinwoo said quickly. Every council child learns that story in school. Were they? Nari asked. Or did they just disappear into deep space? Meanwhile, in the council chambers on the capital world of Nexus Prime, the debate about humans had been going on for months. The 7 major species could not agree on whether the human files were worth studying. Commander Thex of the Quillen spoke first. His insect-like features showed clear irritation. We are wasting time and resources on children's stories. No species could have the abilities described in these files. It violates basic biology. The files are consistent across multiple databases, replied Counselor Minho, who represented the growing group that wanted to investigate the human question. 7 different species, writing over a period of 2,000 years, all describe the same creatures with the same abilities. Consistency does not equal truth, argued General Voss of the Vorthak. Perhaps these humans were real but primitive. The stories grew larger with each telling until myth became history. Then explain this, Counselor Minho said, activating a holographic display. Deep space sensors have detected energy signatures from the outer rim. The signals do not match any known Council technology. The chamber fell silent. New technology was rare in Council space. Most species had reached a stable level of development centuries ago. Unknown signals could mean anything, said Admiral Kent of the Thalori. Pirates, natural phenomena, or experimental weapons from one of our own worlds. The signals are too organized to be natural and too advanced to be pirates, Counselor Minho replied. And I have checked with all Council worlds. None of them are conducting experiments in the Outer Rim. Dr. Hana did not know about the Council debates, but she was getting closer to her own answers. Late one night, while the rest of the crew was sleeping, she made a discovery that changed everything. She was cross-referencing human stories with Council historical records when she found a file that should not have existed. It was buried deep in the ship's database, protected by security codes that were older than the current government. The file contained a single message, written in perfect Council standard. The words made Hana's hands shake as she read them. Takor, whoever finds this record, humanity is real. We retreated to the Outer Rim to prepare for the return of an ancient enemy. We have been watching and waiting. When the time comes, we will remember our friends and protect those who cannot protect themselves. Until that day, we remain hidden among the stars. The message was signed with a simple name, Captain Soman, Terran Defense Force. At the bottom of the file was a date stamp that made Hana's heart race. The message had been sent less than 1 year ago. Dr. Hana sat back in her chair and stared at the screen. If this message was real, then everything changed. Humans were not myths or ancient history. They were alive, they were watching, and they were coming. She reached for her communication device to call Dr. Wu Jin, then stopped. Who would believe her? A single message could be a fake, created by someone playing a cruel joke. But deep in her heart, Hana knew it was real. The humans were out there somewhere in the darkness between the stars. And soon the galaxy would learn that some myths were more real than anyone had imagined. 3 weeks after Dr. Hana's discovery, the energy signatures from the Outer Rim became impossible to ignore. The signals were moving closer to Council space, and they were getting stronger every day. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of his ship, the Star Bridge, watching the sensor readings with growing concern. His science officer, Dr. Kyung, had been monitoring the unknown signals for hours without finding any answers. Captain, the energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases, Dr. Kyung reported. Whatever is producing these signals uses technology that seems to bend space itself. How many vessels are we detecting? Captain Jinwoo asked. At least 50 large ships, sir, but the readings are strange. Sometimes we detect 100 ships, sometimes 30. It is like they can appear and disappear at will. Lieutenant Nari looked up from her tactical station. Sir, Council Command is ordering us to make first contact. We are the closest patrol ship to the unknown fleet. Captain Jinwoo felt his stomach tighten. First contact with an unknown species was always dangerous, especially when that species had technology superior to Council standards. But orders were orders. Set course for the signal source, he commanded, and prepare the standard first contact protocols. Ensign Do-hyun activated the ship's communication systems. He began broadcasting universal peace symbols, mathematical sequences, and basic pictographs that any intelligent species should be able to understand. These signals had worked for thousands of years when Council ships met new civilizations. For 2 hours, they transmitted without receiving any response. The unknown fleet continued moving toward Council space, ignoring all attempts at communication. Maybe they do not understand our signals, Dr. Kyung suggested. Or maybe they do not want to talk, Lieutenant Nari added grimly. Captain Jinwoo was about to order a withdrawal when the communication console suddenly came to life. Ensign Do-hyun jumped in his seat as a clear voice filled the bridge. Council vessel Starbridge, this is Captain Soman of the Terran Federation ship Indomitable. We have been monitoring your communications for several months. We apologize for not responding sooner, but we needed to make sure you were not hostile. The bridge crew stared at each other in shock. The voice spoke perfect Council standard, and the name matched the signature Dr. Hana had found in the ancient files. This is Captain Jinwoo of the Starbridge, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Are you saying that you are human? Yes, Captain Jinwoo. We are the descendants of the humans your people remember in their myths and legends. We have been living in the Outer Rim for over 3,000 years, waiting for the right time to return. Dr. Kyung was frantically scanning the area, trying to get a visual on the human ships. Captain, I am detecting a massive vessel approaching our position. It is over 2 kilometers long. On the main screen, a ship unlike anything they had ever seen materialized out of empty space. It was sleek and powerful, with strange curves that seemed to flow like water. The hull appeared to be made of some dark metal that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Permission to come aboard your vessel, Captain Jinwoo, the human voice continued. I believe we have much to discuss. Captain Jinwoo hesitated. Allowing unknown aliens onto his ship violated several Council protocols. But if these really were humans, this could be the most important moment in galactic history. Permission granted, Captain Soman. Our hangar bay is ready to receive your shuttle. 20 minutes later, Captain Jinwoo stood in the hangar bay watching a small, elegant craft land on his ship. The shuttle was as strange as the mothership, seeming to move with organic grace despite being made of metal and technology. The shuttle door opened and Captain Soman stepped out. Captain Jinwoo had read every description of humans in the ancient files, but seeing one in person was still shocking. Captain Soman was tall and lean with smooth skin and dark hair. She moved with confidence and grace, but there was something in her eyes that spoke of years spent preparing for war. Captain Jinwoo, she said, extending her hand in a gesture that Captain Jinwoo recognized from the historical files. It is an honor to meet you. Captain Jinwoo carefully shook the human's hand, noting that her grip was firm but not aggressive. Captain Soman, your people have been thought extinct for thousands of years. Where have you been? Preparing, Captain Soman replied simply. Captain, is there somewhere private we can talk? What I have to tell you will change everything your Council believes about the galaxy. They moved to Captain Jinwoo's ready room, where Captain Somin activated a small device that projected a holographic star map. The map showed the known galaxy, but with additional information that made Captain Jinwoo's heart sink. 3,000 years ago, humanity fought a war against an enemy we called the Devourers. Captain Soman began. They were a species that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind them. The war lasted 600 years and nearly destroyed both our civilizations. The Council has legends about creatures like that, Captain Jinwoo said quietly. But they were supposed to be extinct, not extinct, sleeping. Captain Soman manipulated the holographic map, showing a region of space beyond the outer rim. They retreated to the dark spaces between galaxies to recover their strength. Our long-range sensors detected their return 18 months ago. The hologram showed a massive fleet moving through deep space toward the galaxy. Captain Jinwoo counted the ships and felt his blood turn cold. There were thousands of them, each one larger than the biggest Council battleship. They will reach Council space in less than 2 years, Captain Soman continued. When they do, they will consume every living world in their path. Your people, my people, everyone will die unless we work together. Why should we believe you? Captain Jinwoo asked, though he was already convinced. You could be invaders yourself, using fear tactics to make us surrender. Captain Soman smiled sadly. Because, Captain, we did not have to warn you. If we wanted to conquer Council space, we could have done it already. Our technology is 3,000 years more advanced than yours. We have weapons that can destroy planets and ships that can travel faster than anything in your fleet. She paused and looked directly into Captain Jinwoo's eyes. But we are not conquerors, Captain. We are guardians. We have spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment, not to rule the galaxy but to save it. Dr. Kyung's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we are detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human fleet. Their weapons are powering up. Captain Soman touched her communication device. Admiral Taehyung, this is Captain Soman. Stand down all weapon systems. These are potential allies, not enemies. Acknowledged, Captain. All systems returning to standby. Captain Jinwoo felt some of his tension ease, but he still had questions. Captain Soman, if your people are so advanced, why do you need our help? Because the Devourers have evolved too, she replied. They learn from every battle, adapting their tactics and technology to counter whatever they face. In our previous war, they nearly defeated us because we fought alone. This time, we need diversity. Different species, different ways of thinking, different approaches to warfare. Captain Soman stood up and moved to the window that looked out at the stars. The Devourers expect us to fight the same way we did before, but with the Council's help, we can surprise them. Your people bring knowledge and abilities that we do not have. What kind of abilities? Captain Jinwoo asked. The Vorthak understand defensive warfare better than anyone. The Quillen can coordinate massive swarms of small ships. The Lumari can manipulate energy in ways we never learned. Every Council species has something unique to contribute. Captain Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment, thinking about everything he had heard. Finally, he asked the most important question. What happens if the Council refuses to believe you? Captain Soman turned back to face him, and her expression was grim. Then we will fight the Devourers alone, just as we did before. We will probably lose and both our civilizations will die. But we will not surrender, and we will not run. That is what it means to be human. Captain Jinwoo activated his communication system. Dr. Hana, please report to my ready room immediately, and contact Council Command. Tell them we have a Code 1 first contact situation. As they waited for Dr. Hana to arrive, Captain Somin added one final piece of information that changed everything. Captain, there is something else you should know. We have been watching your people for centuries. We know about your cultures, your languages, your histories. We have always hoped that one day we could return as friends rather than strangers. When Dr. Hana entered the ready room and saw Captain Somin, her face lit up with wonder and vindication. The myths were real. Humanity had returned and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in over 200 years. Representatives from all 7 major species filled the great chamber on Nexus Prime, their voices creating a storm of debate that echoed off the crystal walls. Councillor Minho stood at the central podium, trying to maintain order as species after species demanded to speak. The holographic evidence that Captain Jinwoo had transmitted was displayed above them all. Star charts showing the approaching Devourer fleet, human ship specifications, and most disturbing of all, images of dead worlds that the monsters had already consumed. The humans could be lying, declared General Voss of the Vorthak, his reptilian features twisted with suspicion. These images could be fabricated. How do we know they did not create this threat themselves? Because our own deep space probes confirm their data, Councillor Minho replied firmly. He activated another holographic display showing Council sensor readings. 3 of our border monitoring stations have detected the same energy signatures approaching from the galactic rim. Something is coming, and it matches the human descriptions exactly. Commander Thex of the Quillen buzzed his wings in agitation. Even if the threat is real, why should we trust these humans? They claim to be our protectors, but they have been hiding from us for 3,000 years. What else are they hiding? Perhaps they were wise to hide, said Elder Lion of the Verdani, her plant-like form swaying gently as she spoke. If they truly fought these devourers before, they know the cost of war better than we do. Maybe they were protecting us by staying away. Or maybe they are cowards who ran away when things got difficult, snarled Admiral Kent of the Thallery. His aquatic breathing apparatus bubbled with emotion. Now they return only when they need our help. The debate continued for hours, but Counselor Minho could see that fear was winning over reason. The council had enjoyed peace for so long that they had forgotten how to face a real threat. Meanwhile, Captain Jinwoo found himself in an impossible position. He had been assigned as the official liaison between the council and the human fleet, which meant he spent his days aboard Admiral Taehyung's flagship, the Indomitable. The human ship was a marvel of engineering that challenged everything Captain Jinwoo thought he knew about technology. The corridors seemed to bend and flow like living tissue, adjusting their shape to accommodate different species. The walls displayed information directly to his mind, somehow knowing what language he preferred and what data he needed. "How is this possible?" he asked Dr. Kyung, who was running scans on everything the humans allowed them to examine. "The ship's computer system is unlike anything we have ever encountered," Dr. Kyung replied, her voice filled with wonder. "It appears to be partially biological, partially artificial, and partially something else that I cannot identify. It learns and adapts constantly." Admiral Taehyung joined them in the ship's observation deck, which provided a stunning view of the human fleet. Captain Jinwoo counted over 200 vessels, each one unique in design but obviously part of a coordinated whole. "Admiral, your technology is incredible," Captain Jinwoo said. "But it raises questions. If you have had this level of advancement for centuries, why did you not contact us sooner?" Admiral Taehyung was a calm man with graying hair and eyes that seemed to have seen too much war. "Because, Captain, we learned a hard lesson in our war with the Devourers. Advanced technology means nothing if you do not have the wisdom to use it properly." He gestured toward the stars beyond the observation window. "We could have conquered your council centuries ago. Our weapons could destroy planets. Our ships can travel distances that would take your vessels months to cover. But conquest would make us no different from the Devourers." Lieutenant Nari, who had also been assigned to the liaison team, spoke up. "Then why reveal yourselves now?" "Because the Devourers are different this time," Admiral Taehyung replied. "In our previous war, they were savage but predictable. Now they have learned patience and strategy. They study their enemies before attacking, adapting their methods to counter whatever defenses they encounter." Admiral Taehyung activated a holographic display that showed battle footage from recent human encounters with Devourer scouts. Captain Jinwoo watched in horror as massive bioships tore apart human vessels with weapons that seemed alive. "They have been testing us for decades," Admiral Taehyung continued. "Small attacks on our outer colonies, probing our defenses, learning our tactics. Each encounter teaches them something new about how we fight. But surely your advanced technology gives you an advantage," Dr. Kyung said. "Technology is not enough," Admiral Taehyung replied sadly. "The Devourers consume everything they defeat, incorporating new abilities into their own forces. The more advanced we become, the more dangerous they become after they defeat us." Captain Jinwoo felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that we cannot win this war with weapons alone. We need something the Devourers cannot consume or copy. We need the one thing that makes each council species unique, your different ways of thinking." Admiral Taehyung expanded the holographic display to show tactical simulations. "The Vorthak approach every problem like engineers, building layer upon layer of defenses. The Quillen think in terms of swarms and overwhelming numbers. The Lumari see warfare as an energy equation to be balanced. Each species has a mental approach that the Devourers have never encountered." "And humans?" Captain Jinwoo asked. "What is your unique approach?" Admiral Taehyung smiled grimly. "We refuse to accept that any situation is hopeless. When logic says we should surrender, we find new ways to fight. When strategy says we should retreat, we look for ways to advance. The Devourers understand surrender and retreat. They do not understand stubborn determination." Back on Nexus Prime, the council debates were becoming more heated. Dr. Hana had been called to testify about her research into human legends, and her testimony was dividing the council even further. "The historical records are clear," she said, standing before the assembled representatives. "Humanity did not abandon the galaxy. They made a strategic withdrawal to prepare for a threat they knew would return. Every action they have taken for 3,000 years has been focused on this." "Moment. That proves nothing," argued Syark Zenth of the Psioni. "Perhaps they created this threat themselves to justify their return." "With respect, Syark, that makes no logical sense," Dr. Wu Jin interjected. He had been translating human historical documents for weeks, and the evidence was overwhelming. The human records contained detailed scientific data about devourer biology, technology, and behavior. You cannot fabricate that level of detailed information. Councillor Minho called for order as the debates threatened to turn into arguments. "We are running out of time," he announced. "The human fleet is requesting permission to begin joint training exercises with our military forces. We must decide whether to accept their alliance or face this threat alone." "What does our military analysis say about human capabilities?" asked Crystal Singer Neth of the Nexari. General Sunho, the council's highest-ranking military officer, stood to address the chamber. He had spent the past week reviewing human tactical data and interviewing their military personnel. "Honored representatives, I have never seen anything like human military doctrine," he began. "They approach warfare like a combination of art, science, and philosophy. Their ships are designed to work together like a single organism, but each one can operate independently if needed." He activated a display showing human fleet movements. "More importantly, they have been training for this specific war for 3,000 years. Every human child learns tactics and strategy from birth. Every human adult has spent time in their military. Their entire civilization has been shaped by preparation for this moment. Are they really as formidable as the legends claim?" asked Admiral Kent. General Sunho paused before answering. "Admiral, I watched recordings of humans fighting devourer bioships. I saw a single human fighter pilot destroy a vessel 10 times, larger than her craft. I watched human marines board a living enemy ship and fight through corridors that were trying to digest them. They did not just survive. They won." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If humans really possessed these abilities, they could be either the galaxy's greatest allies or its most dangerous enemies. "What do they want from us?" asked Elder Lion. Councillor Minho consulted his notes from the liaison reports. "According to Admiral Taehyung, they want nothing except our cooperation in fighting the Devourers. They have offered to share their technology and tactical knowledge freely. They ask only that we contribute our own unique capabilities to the war effort." "And if we refuse?" asked Commander Thex. "Then they will fight alone, just as they did before," Councillor Minho replied. Admiral Taehyung was very clear on this point. "They will not force us to join them, but they will not abandon their duty to protect the galaxy." The debate continued through the night, but gradually the weight of evidence began to shift opinion. The humans had proved their claims about the devourer threat. They had demonstrated superior technology and military capability. Most importantly, they had shown no signs of aggressive intent toward Council worlds. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, Councillor Minho called for the final vote. Despite the Council's vote, many representatives still doubted human capabilities. They demanded proof before committing their full military forces to the Alliance. Admiral Taehyung understood their concerns and proposed a demonstration. "There is a system on the outer rim where our scouts have detected Devourer presence," he told the assembled council observers aboard his flagship. "We will engage them in combat while you watch and evaluate our methods." Dr. Hana stood with Captain Jinwoo and General Sunho on the observation deck of the Indomitable. She had never seen a space battle before, and the idea both thrilled and terrified her. These were not simulations or historical records. Real people would fight and possibly die. "How many Devourer ships are we expecting?" General Sunho asked. Commander Yejin, the human tactical officer, checked her displays. Long-range sensors show at least 12 bioships of various sizes. The largest appears to be a Hive-class vessel, approximately 3 kilometers in length. Captain Jinwoo felt his stomach tighten. Council battleships were rarely longer than 1 kilometer. The idea of fighting something 3 times that size seemed impossible. "Do not worry about the size," Admiral Taehyung said, noticing Captain Jinwoo's expression. "Devourer bioships are large, but they are not invulnerable. We have learned their weaknesses over centuries of warfare." The human fleet moved into position with fluid grace. 12 human vessels faced the approaching Devourer force, and Captain Jinwoo quickly realized that the humans were outnumbered. Each Devourer bioship was larger than any human vessel. "Admiral, should we not wait for reinforcements?" Dr. Hana asked nervously. "Dr. Hana, this is reinforcements," Admiral Taehyung replied with a slight smile. "You are about to see why humans have survived for 3,000 years. The Devourer bioships emerged from dark space like nightmares given form. They were not built like normal vessels. Instead, they seemed to have grown, with organic curves and surfaces that pulsed with alien life. Massive tentacles writhed around their hulls, and weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. "By the ancestors," whispered General Sunho. "Those things are alive, completely organic," confirmed Dr. Kyung, who was monitoring the sensor readings. "They appear to be engineered creatures rather than constructed ships, and they are radiating some kind of psychic energy." The largest bioship, the Hive-class vessel, began transmitting a signal that made everyone on the bridge feel sick and afraid. It was not communication in any normal sense. It was pure hunger, the desire to consume and destroy everything in its path. "Psychic warfare," Admiral Taehyung explained calmly. "The Devourers use fear as a weapon. Most species panic when they encounter that signal for the first time." "How do you resist it?" Captain Jinwoo asked, fighting the urge to order a retreat. "Training and experience," replied Commander Yejin, "and the knowledge that fear is just another enemy to be defeated." The battle began with the Devourers launching what looked like missiles, but which quickly revealed themselves to be smaller bioships. These fighter-sized creatures moved with organic grace, dodging and weaving through space like living things. The human response was immediate and coordinated. Fighter squadrons launched from the larger ships, led by pilots who moved, their craft with impossible skill. Captain Jinwoo watched in amazement as human fighters performed maneuvers that should have killed their pilots, spinning and diving through space with precision that seemed almost magical. "How are they doing that?" he asked Dr. Kyung. "Their ships appear to be partially controlled by thought rather than manual controls," she replied, studying her sensor readings. "The human pilots are connected directly to their fighters' systems. One human pilot, Lieutenant Hyunsu, found himself surrounded by 6 Devourer biofighters. Any normal pilot would have been destroyed instantly, but Lieutenant Hyunsu did, something that defied all tactical logic. He shut down his engines and let his fighter drift, using the biofighters' own momentum against them as they tried to follow his movements. In the few seconds of confusion that followed, he restarted his engines and destroyed 3 of the pursuing biofighters before the others could react. The remaining 3 broke off their attack, apparently recognizing that this human was too dangerous to fight directly. "Impossible," breathed General Sunho. "No pilot should be able to calculate those angles in real time." "Human pilots train from childhood," Admiral Taehyung explained. "They learn to think in 3 dimensions while most species think in 2. More importantly, they learn to trust their instincts even when logic says they should give up." The main battle was equally impressive. The human capital ships moved in perfect formation, each one covering the other's weaknesses while maximizing their own strengths. When the Devourers tried to focus their fire on a single target, the other human ships would adjust position to block the attack. But what truly amazed the Council observers was how humans dealt with damage. When the cruiser Defiance took heavy fire and lost its main engines, the other ships did not abandon it. Instead, they formed a protective formation around the damaged vessel, while repair crews worked under fire to restore its systems. "They are risking their entire fleet to save one ship," Captain Jinwoo observed. "That is what humans do," Admiral Taehyung replied. "We do not leave anyone behind if we can help it." The tide of battle turned when Commander Yejin identified a weakness in the Hive-class bioship. "Admiral, the creature's neural center is exposed during its regeneration cycles. If we can time our attack perfectly, we can disable its coordination systems. How long do we have between cycles? Admiral Taehyung asked. Approximately 43 seconds. That is not enough time for a normal attack run, General Sun Ho said. Then we will do an abnormal attack run, Admiral Taehyung replied. He opened communication channels to all human ships. All vessels, prepare for Pattern 7 assault. Target the Hive neural cluster on my mark. Captain Jinwoo had no idea what Pattern 7 meant, but he watched in fascination as the human fleet suddenly changed formation. The ships moved with clockwork precision, each one arriving at exactly the right position at exactly the right moment. When the Hive-class bioship began its regeneration cycle, 12 human ships fired simultaneously at the same tiny target. The combined firepower overwhelmed the creature's defenses, and its neural center exploded in a flash of organic light. Instantly, all the Devourer biofighters stopped moving. Without the Hive's coordinating intelligence, they became helpless, targets that the human fighters destroyed easily. But the victory came at a cost. The human destroyer Courage had taken severe damage protecting the Defiance, and 17 crew members had been killed. Captain Jinwoo expected the humans to celebrate their victory, but instead they held a brief ceremony honoring their fallen comrades. We won, Dr. Hana said quietly. Why do they look so sad? Because winning is not the same as succeeding, Admiral Taehyung replied. We succeeded in our mission, but we lost good people in the process. That is always cause for sorrow. After the battle, the Council observers were given a tour of the damaged human ships. What they saw there changed their understanding of warfare forever. In the medical bay of the Defiance, Dr. Hana watched human medics treating wounded crew members, with technology that could repair injuries that would be fatal by Council standards. But more impressive than the technology was the attitude of the patients. Sir, when will I be cleared for duty? Asked a human Marine whose arm had been nearly severed by Devourer bioacid. Give us 6 hours to grow you a new one. The medic replied casually. They can grow new limbs? Dr. Hana asked in amazement. Organic tissue replacement is basic human medical technology, the medic explained. We developed it during the First Devourer War, when conventional medicine was not enough to keep our soldiers fighting. General Sun Ho was equally impressed by what he saw in the ship's engineering sections. Human repair crews were working with focused intensity to restore damaged systems, but they were also analyzing the damage to improve their defenses for next time. Every battle teaches us something new, explained Chief Engineer Yoonji. The Devourers evolve their tactics constantly, so we must evolve ours as well. How do you coordinate such complex repairs without central command? General Sun Ho asked. Each crew member is trained to think independently while working toward common goals, Chief Engineer Yoonji replied. We do not need someone to tell us what to do. We know what needs to be done, and we do it. But the most impressive thing about the humans was their attitude toward the Council observers. Despite having just proved their superior capabilities, they showed no arrogance or superiority. Instead, they seemed genuinely interested in learning from the Council species. Your tactical analysis is excellent, Commander Ye-jin told General Sun Ho as they reviewed the battle data. The Vorthak approach to defensive positioning would have prevented at least half our casualties. But you won the battle, General Sun Ho pointed out. We won this battle, Commander Ye-jin corrected. The war will require many more victories and we cannot achieve them alone. We need the Council's knowledge and capabilities. As the human fleet prepared to return to Council space, Admiral Taehyung gathered all the observers for a final briefing. You have seen us fight, he said simply. Now you know that we are capable of standing against the Devourers. But the integration of human and Council forces proved more challenging than anyone expected. Each species had developed their own military traditions over thousands of years, and combining them into a unified force seemed impossible. General Sun Ho stood in the command center of the new joint training facility on Nexus Prime, watching with frustration as another exercise ended in confusion. Vorthak heavy cruisers moved too slowly to keep up with human fighters. Quillen swarm tactics interfered with Lumari energy coordination. The lorry ships could not operate in the same environmental conditions as Nexari crystal vessels. "This is not working," he told Colonel Jaehwan, the human officer assigned to help with integration. "Our species fight too differently to ever work together effectively." Colonel Jaehwan nodded calmly. "You are thinking about this wrong, General. You are trying to make everyone fight the same way. Instead, we should let everyone fight their own way while working toward the same goal." "What do you mean?" General Sunho asked. "Watch this," Colonel Jaehwan said, activating a holographic display. "Instead of mixed fleets, what if we created mixed crews? Put a human tactical officer on a Vorthak ship to provide speed and flexibility. Add a Quillen coordinator to a human vessel to manage multiple fighter squadrons. Let each species contribute their strengths while learning from others." The idea seemed risky, but General Sunho was willing to try anything. The first mixed crew experiment paired the human destroyer Swift with a Vorthak engineering team, a Quillen communication specialist, and a Lumari energy systems officer. Commander Dong Hyun, the Swift's captain, was skeptical about having non-human crew members aboard his ship. "No offense to our allies," he told Major Sua, his executive officer, "but humans fight best when they can anticipate each other's actions. How can we coordinate with species that think completely differently?" "Maybe. Different thinking is exactly what we need," Major Sua replied. "The Devourers know how humans fight. They have been studying us for centuries, but they have never faced humans working with Council species." The first test came during a training exercise against simulated Devourer forces. The enemy bioships used tactics copied from real battles, adapting their responses based on human behavior patterns. For the first hour of the exercise, the Swift fought exactly as the Devourers expected. Human tactics were predictable, and the simulated enemy countered every move efficiently. Then the Vorthak engineer suggested something that no human would have thought of. "Commander, what if we reverse our engine output and use it as a weapon?" "That would destroy our engines," Commander Dong-hyun replied. "Not permanently," the Vorthak engineer explained. "My people design everything to be rebuilt quickly. We can overload the engines, use the energy discharge as a weapon, then repair them in minutes." It was completely against human tactical doctrine, but Commander Dong-hyun decided to trust his new crew member. The Swift overloaded its engines and directed the resulting energy explosion at the nearest simulated bioship. The unexpected attack destroyed the target instantly. The Quillen communications officer took advantage of the confusion to coordinate with other allied ships in ways that confused the simulation's tactical computers. Instead of direct orders, she used rapid-fire suggestions that allowed each captain to adapt the plan to their ship's capabilities. The Lumari energy systems officer found ways to boost weapon power that human engineers had never discovered. Channeling energy through systems in patterns that seemed impossible but worked perfectly. By the end of the exercise, the Swift had destroyed twice as many enemy targets as any purely human ship had ever managed. More importantly, the simulated Devourers had been unable to predict or counter the mixed crew's tactics. "Incredible," breathed General Sunho as he reviewed the results. The combination of different approaches created something completely new. Word of the success spread quickly, and soon every ship in the Alliance fleet was requesting mixed crews. Captain Jinwoo found himself working with a Psioni navigator who could sense enemy movements through psychic awareness, a Nexari weapons officer who calculated targeting solutions with crystal-based processing, and a Verdani medical officer who could heal injuries using plant-based biotechnology. "I have never experienced anything like this," Captain Jinwoo told Dr. Hana during one of their regular communications. "My crew works together better than any purely human team I have ever served with." Dr. Hana was experiencing her own revelations working with human archaeologists to study Devourer remains. "The humans approach history completely differently than we do," she reported to Dr. Wu Jin. "They do not just study the past, they learn from it to prepare for the future." The real test came when long-range sensors detected actual Devourer scout forces approaching the border system of Kepler Prime. The colony there had over 2 million inhabitants and was considered impossible to evacuate in time. Admiral Tae-hyung and Council Fleet Admiral Nethys jointly commanded the defense fleet. It was the first time human and Council forces had fought together in a real battle, and everyone knew that failure would mean the death of innocent civilians. The Devourers are using standard probe tactics, reported Lieutenant Colonel Seojin, from the planet's surface. Bioships are releasing smaller organisms to test our defenses while the main force stays back to observe. They are learning, Admiral Taehyung noted grimly. Every move we make teaches them something about our capabilities. The defense had to be perfect. They needed to protect the colony while revealing as little as possible about their new combined tactics. The battle began when Devourer biofighters swarmed toward the planet's orbital defenses. Council ships responded with traditional defensive formations, but they were secretly coordinated by human tactical officers who kept the real strategy hidden. When the Devourers sent larger bioships to break through the defenses, they encountered something they had never seen before. Vorthak heavy cruisers fought with human-style aggressiveness, attacking instead of just defending. Quillen swarm ships used Lumari energy shields to survive in combat zones that should have been deadly. Thalori fast attack vessels coordinated with Nexari precision targeting to achieve impossible accuracy. But the most effective combination was on the ground, where Lieutenant Colonel Seojin led a mixed force of human marines and council soldiers in defending the colony's population centers. The bioforms are adapting to our weapons faster than expected, reported Sergeant Minjae over the communications link. They are developing resistance to energy weapons in real time. Switch to Vorthak explosive rounds, Lieutenant Colonel Seojin ordered. Quillen units, use sonic disruptors, Lumari teams, try plasma bursts. The constant switching between different weapons types prevented the Devourers from adapting effectively. Every time they developed resistance to one attack method, the Alliance forces changed to something else. The most critical moment came when a massive Hive-class bioship broke through the orbital defenses and began descending toward the planet. Its psychic broadcasts were causing panic among the civilian population, and its bioweapons were destroying everything in their path. All units, focus fire on the Hive ship, Admiral Taehyung ordered. But the creature's defenses were too strong. Council and human weapons alike seemed to have no effect on its massive organic hull. Then Chief Engineer Yoonji made a suggestion that changed everything. Admiral, what if we do not try to destroy it? What if we capture it? Capture a Hive ship? Admiral Nethys asked in disbelief. That is impossible. Not capture permanently, Chief Engineer Yoonji clarified. Just long enough to study its control systems. If we can understand how it communicates with the other bioforms, we might be able to disrupt the entire attack. It was an insane plan, but it was also the kind of creative thinking that the Alliance needed. Teams of human engineers and council technicians worked together to modify their weapon systems, changing them from destructive tools into capture devices. The plan worked better than anyone expected. Using psioni psychic dampeners to block the Hive ship's mental defenses, Nexari crystal technology to map its neural pathways, and human adaptation techniques to interface with alien systems, they managed to take temporary control of the creature. For exactly 17 minutes, the Alliance commanded a Devourer Hive ship. In that time, they learned more about enemy biology and technology than humans had discovered in centuries of warfare. More importantly, they used the Hive ship's own communication systems to send false orders to the other bioforms, causing them to retreat back to their motherships. The entire Devourer attack force withdrew, believing they had received strategic orders from their commanders. The victory at Kepler Prime proved that the Alliance could work, but it also revealed the true scope of the challenge ahead. The Devourer forces they had defeated were just scouts. Long-range sensors showed the main fleet approaching fast, and it was larger than anyone had imagined. Over 8,000 bioships, reported Dr. Kyung as she analyzed the sensor data, including creatures we have never seen before. Some of them are larger than space stations. Admiral Taehyung gathered the combined command staff for a final briefing before the main battle. Representatives from all 8 species filled the conference room, their different forms creating a strange but inspiring sight. We have learned to fight together. The main Devourer fleet arrived 3 weeks ahead of schedule, catching the Alliance forces still completing their final preparations. Long-range sensors showed a sight that chilled the blood of every species in the galaxy. Over 10,000. Bioships stretching across space like a living plague. Admiral Taehyung stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by command staff from all 8 Alliance species. The Nexus system had been chosen as their battleground because it was the only route to the galaxy's core worlds. If they failed here, billions would die. Final count shows 10,147 enemy vessels, reported Dr. Kyung, her voice steady despite the overwhelming numbers, including 17 hive worlds, each one the size of a small moon. Our fleet status? Admiral Taehyung asked. General Sunho checked his displays. 4,200 ships of all classes, representing every species in the Alliance. All crews are integrated and ready for combat. Captain Jinwoo commanded one of the new hybrid vessels, the Unity, which combined human adaptive technology with Council defensive systems. His crew included engineers from 6 different species, all working together with the precision that had become the Alliance's greatest strength. Captain, we are detecting massive energy buildups across the Devourer fleet, reported his Lumari, energy specialist. They are preparing for full-scale assault. All stations battle ready, Captain Jinwoo ordered. Around him, his mixed crew moved with practiced efficiency. Months of joint training had taught them to think as one unit despite their different origins. The Devourer attack began with a wave of biofighters so numerous they darkened the stars. Millions of the organic craft swarmed toward the Alliance fleet, their movements coordinated by the massive hive worlds behind them. Here they come, Admiral Taehyung announced to all ships. Remember your training. Trust your crews. Fight as one. The Alliance response was immediate and devastating. Human fighters, their pilots enhanced by psionic battle meditation, dove into the enemy swarms with impossible courage. Council ships, their weapons upgraded with human adaptive technology, fired with accuracy that defied belief. But what truly shocked the Devourers was the coordination. Alliance ships moved as if connected by invisible threads, each vessel supporting others in ways that created a defensive formation stronger than the sum of its parts. Commander Yejin led the first major engagement, her fighter squadron working with Quillen swarm coordinators to create attack patterns the Devourers had never encountered. When the biofighters tried to adapt to human tactics, they found themselves facing Vorthak defensive maneuvers. When they adjusted to counter Vorthak strategies, Thalary speed attacks caught them off guard. The enemy is having difficulty adapting, reported Major Sua from the Tactical Center. They keep adjusting to counter one species, only to be surprised by another. But the Devourers had learned from their previous defeats. The hive worlds began broadcasting new coordination signals, forcing the biofighters to work in smaller, more flexible groups that could adapt faster to changing tactics. They are adjusting their approach, warned Lieutenant Colonel Seojin from his command ship. The bioforms are becoming more independent. Admiral Taehyung had expected this development. Phase 2, all units, switched to individual species tactics on rotating schedules. The Alliance fleet suddenly changed its approach. Instead of mixed formations, they switched to pure species groups every few minutes. Human ships would attack with aggressive tactics for 5 minutes, then withdraw as Vorthak vessels advanced with defensive formations. Before the Devourers could adapt, Quillen swarms would replace the Vorthak ships, followed by Lumari energy attacks, then Thalori speed strikes. The constant rotation prevented the Devourers from developing effective counter-strategies, but it also revealed the true size of the enemy force. For every bioship the Alliance destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. We are killing them faster than they can replace them, reported Chief Engineer Yoonji. But barely. This is going to be a battle of attrition. The tide began to turn when Captain Seonghwan made a desperate decision. His ship, the Valiant, had taken critical damage and was unable to retreat. Instead of abandoning ship, he plotted a collision course with the nearest hive world. Captain Seonghwan, what are you doing? Admiral Taehyung demanded over the communication link. Something that will matter, Admiral, Captain Seonghwan replied calmly. Tell my crew they were the best I ever served with. The Valiant struck the hive world's primary nerve center at full speed, its fusion reactors overloading on impact. The explosion was visible across the entire battlefield, and instantly, Thousands of biofighters went silent as their controlling intelligence was destroyed. Captain Xionghuan's sacrifice inspired others. Across the battlefield, Alliance crews began taking risks that should have been suicidal but somehow succeeded. Council captains fought with human-style determination, while human crews displayed Council-style tactical patience. The decisive moment came when long-range sensors detected something that changed everything. Devourer reinforcements approaching. From deep space, the main fleet had been just the first wave. "Admiral, we are detecting another fleet of equal size," Dr. Qiang reported, her voice tight with strain. "They will arrive in approximately 4 hours." The Alliance fleet was already stretched to its limits fighting the current enemy force. Facing twice as many Devourers would mean certain defeat. But humans had not survived 3,000 years of warfare by accepting defeat. Admiral Taehyung made a decision that would be remembered for generations. "All ships, prepare for deep penetration. Attack. We are going to take the fight to their command center." "Admiral, that is impossible," protested Admiral Nethys. "The largest hive world is surrounded by hundreds of bioships. We would never get close enough." "We will get close enough," Admiral Taehyung replied. "Because we are going to do something the Devourers will never expect. We are going to capture one of their hive worlds and use it against them." The plan was insane, but it was also the kind of creative thinking that had made the Alliance possible. Using everything they had learned from their previous capture of a hive ship, teams of specialists from all 8 species worked together to modify their weapon systems. Major Sua led the assault force that would board the target hive world. Her team included the best warriors from every Alliance species, trained to fight in the toxic organic environment inside Devourer bioships. "Remember, we are not trying to destroy this thing," she told her troops as they prepared for the most dangerous mission in galactic history. "We are trying to take control of it. That means precision, not destruction." The attack began with the entire Alliance fleet focusing their fire on a single hive world, not to destroy it but to create a gap in its defenses. Human ships used their adaptive technology to punch through the creature's organic armor, while Council vessels provided covering fire. Major Sua's assault team boarded the hive world through wounds in its hull, fighting through living corridors that tried to digest them while navigating toward the creature's central brain complex. The environment was like nothing they had ever encountered. Walls that bled, floors that moved like muscle tissue, and air that burned their lungs with every breath. But they had trained for this. Each species contributed their unique abilities to overcome obstacles that would have stopped any single group. Vorthak engineers built pathways through living walls. Quillan scouts mapped the constantly changing internal structure. Lumari technicians provided energy shields against the creature's internal defenses. The final battle took place in the hive world's brain chamber, a vast organic space filled with neural tissue that pulsed with alien thought. Commander Hyunjin, Major Sua's second-in-command, led the technical team that would interface with the creature's control systems. "The neural pathways are more complex than we expected," he reported, as bio-defensive organisms swarmed toward their position. "I need more time to establish a connection." "How much more time?" Major Sua asked, firing her weapon at creatures that seemed to be made of living nightmare. 10 minutes minimum." "You have got it," Major Sua replied, signaling her troops to form a defensive perimeter around the technical team. What followed was the most desperate battle in Alliance history. A handful of soldiers from 8 different species held off an entire hive world's internal defenses, while their technicians worked to take control of a creature the size of a city. The cost was enormous. Over half the assault team was killed or wounded, including Major Sua herself, who stayed at her post even after taking injuries that would have killed most beings. But Commander Hyunjin succeeded. For the second time in Alliance history, they gained control of a Devourer hive world. This time, however, they were not content with temporary control. Using the creature's own neural networks, they planted a cascade virus designed by human cyber warfare specialists and enhanced by psionic psychic techniques. The virus spread from the captured hive world to every other bioship in the fleet, causing them to attack each other instead of the Alliance forces. Within hours, The entire Devourer armada had destroyed itself in organic confusion, but the victory came at a terrible cost. Over 40% of the Alliance fleet had been destroyed, and thousands of the galaxy's best warriors were dead. The celebration that should have followed such an impossible